What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Seeds and Stix. And I'm joined with Ryan and guest host James Adams. And gentlemen, 3 words better than I love you. It's baseball season. James, how do you feel about that?
Well, I love you, and it's baseball season, but it's not baseball season yet. We're just getting started. But I'm excited about it.
Awesome. It's been a great week, and finally spring training games have started. We had a couple rain delays and cancellations there with the Oakland Athletics and Mariners to start things out. But let's go ahead and just dive right in. We're going to get to know each other a little bit more, and we'll start with James here. James, who are some of your favorite players, retired and present?
I was thinking about that. And I was listening to you discuss that last week and a lot of younger players. So I was trying to think of older guys. When I was a kid, I was a big fan of Dave Parker because, of course, I'm a Reds fan growing up in this area. I was also a big fan of Roger Clemens. I turned into not as much of a fan when he went to the Yankees because it's just wrong. But I was definitely a big fan of his. And then I always like hustle guys. So Ryan Friel was a guy that I was a big fan of, coming from around here again. So those are some of those guys. I'm more often than not, my favorite players aren't the best players.
I feel that. And for me personally, I've always been a fan of Austin Kearns, which is a guy no one really thinks about, but I don't know why I liked him so much. Him, Sean Casey, the good old days where the Reds had those uniforms where they were like the vests. I like those the best. They should bring those back. But, obviously I like Josh Reddick a lot too when he was playing with the A's. I didn't really like him that much afterwards when he got traded to the Dodgers.
And he's still a good guy.
He is. The dude loves WrestleMania. The dude loves. Are you a big wrestle guy?
Of course.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Oh, that changes from time to time. It's my favorite right now. Maybe the Velveteen Dream.
Okay. Mine's the classic John Cena, and Ryan doesn't have one. John Cena, you don't see me. So, Ryan, who are some of your old favorite players and current players?
So, favorite player of all time would have to be Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay.
With, I think, the sweetest swing in baseball history. Followed closely by Brandon Phillips, just a fan favorite of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Jose Fernandez.
Yeah.
R.I.P. first of all. But just one of the most fun guys to watch on the mound.
Dude, his slider was nasty.
And he brought so much energy. Like I was saying last week, same thing as Marcus Stroman. Just the energy they bring to the mound. I just love watching those guys go out and perform.
And honestly, those are just players you just don't see that often anymore. People who are genuinely, happy playing the sport. And Jose is definitely one of those guys. Mike Trout, obviously, another one of those guys, but we don't really talk about him that much. West Coast guy. But let's kind of move on here a little bit. What are some of your favorite uniforms, guys? Like, if you had to choose.
I really liked the Montreal Expos.
Ooh, throwing it back.
And I actually got an Expos hat for Christmas that I've been wearing a lot. So that's definitely one, Love them or hate them, you got to like the Yankee pinstripes.
Yeah.
It's an iconic. It's an iconic uni.
Definitely not.
But, to make a wrestling analogy, in order to have the guys you cheer for, you got to have the people you don't like. The Yankees are a great team for not liking them, too. So you have to appreciate the good heel, and the Yankees are that.
Absolutely. What about you, Ryan?
So one team that comes to mind is the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
Love their uniforms.
Like the powder blue.
Love those. Trying to think of some other ones here. Chicago Cubs, actually, I like their uniforms. Just kind of plain, but still blue, white, and red. I mean, great colors.
Classic.
For me personally, I like the Brewers throwbacks.
Oh, Brewers
I think
throwback.
it's sick how they have
MB.
the M and the B with the glove and the pinstripes there. I
That's
think
a
those
good
are pretty
logo.
cool. Yeah, I like those a lot. A lot of people hate these, but I don't know why. I actually like the Padres throwbacks. I know they're.
I knew you were going to say that.
They're so bad, they're good.
Yeah,
I
honestly.
can't stand those.
Why?
The
I kind of
brown?
the brown and
Yeah.
the mustard yellow.
They're
But
so ugly.
The legitimately, that's supposed to be a cheeseburger.
I did not know that.
Because the owner at the time was the McDonald's owner. Kroc, I believe, was her last name. And so there's more to the story than that, but it's legitimately a cheeseburger. That's
Wow.
the brown is the burger and the yellow is the cheese.
Okay, that's actually really funny. But like, I just like the design. It's just something different. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of throwbacks too, like the Astros.
I was going to say another throwback coming to Seattle Mariners.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
those are nice.
The old Astros is a good one. I like the old Pirates, especially with the
like the bumblebee.
It's like with the flat hat that the circle. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
It's like a Pittsburgh thing. Like
That is.
It's not something I would want my team to wear all the time, but it's just one of those things you see like, that's cool. It makes you think like real old school baseball.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just kind of move right on here. Moving on from uniforms. Tell me why you guys think baseball is the best sport. Like, what do you guys think? Why do you think baseball is better than any other sport?
Well, I think, one, I don't really think I pick one sport to be my favorite sport or to be the best sport. I kind of make it akin to like I don't say this is my best friend.
Right.
I got a couple of buddies. They're all my best buddies. So baseball is not necessarily, in my opinion, the best sport. I mean, I love golf. I love football. Right. I love a couple other sports, but it's something I definitely grew up with. Right. I mean, I think. It's something you don't see as much. When I was a kid, man, everybody grew up, you play baseball. You played in your backyard. You don't see that as much. So for me, it connects to that. And then the skill, I've never was able to hit. As much as I played baseball growing up, I could never hit. It's one of those skills that I think, like other sports, you can go out, you can try hard in basketball, you can make it happen. You can try hard in football. I mean, when you see a guy who can really hit, that's just a gift that it's different.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more, really. What do you think, Ryan?
So I think for me, baseball is for sure the best sport. So we'll start there. I like the fact that it's the ultimate team sport, just putting it there first. And then kind of going off that, like growing up, everyone can really play. Like, there isn't kind of the standard where you have to be, 6'5" to play basketball, huge to play football. Baseball, it's kind of like you get out there, you can kind of develop your own game. You don't have to be 7 foot, you don't have to be tiny. You can be anything in between. And also, you don't have to, weigh a ton. It's just a whole different variety of players. Basically, everyone can play, and it's just the ultimate team sport.
I mean, perfect example of that, I think we can all agree, is Jose Altuve.
Perfect.
I mean, the guy absolutely mashes baseballs. The dude's, 5'5", 5'6", something like that?
But, I mean, he is also one of the most talented hitter. I mean, does he work hard? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but he
really
also
does. He perfected
gifted.
his craft. Yeah. He's done really well. For me, I think my favorite part of the game is the fact that the biggest moment of the game could happen at any time. So it could happen in the first inning. It could happen in the ninth inning, obviously, or the fifth inning. It just depends. Like, it always keeps you on your seat, like on the edge of your seat. Just one of like the pivotal part of the games that I love. And then also equal opportunity. I'm sure like golf is the same way because, I mean, it's based off your performance. But like baseball, 27 outs. No matter what, both teams get 27 outs, obviously, unless you're the home team, you're winning in the ninth inning. But
you get them, you just forfeit them.
Yeah,
you don't need
basically, them. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, do you guys have anything else to add on that? Or anything?
No, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think you talk about any minute can be the pivotal minute of the game. So I went to game 163, and I think like season 1999. Al Leiter shut the Reds down. They never scored. We got to the game, and it was maybe 1-0 because we were a little late. Shocker, I was late. In a sense, we missed the whole game.
Right.
Because the Reds never had a chance against Leiter, and so I didn't miss the whole game. I mean, it was a great environment. It was awesome, but I missed what ended up being the pivotal point of the game, the first run.
Right. And see, here's another thing, too. Defense in baseball, oh, my gosh. Like, I'm all about it. Pitching. I could not even watch the Super Bowl this year. Like, I understand, like, oh, you still got to appreciate a defensive game. Like, it's so boring. Like, when I watch football, I just want to see touchdowns. When I'm watching baseball, yeah, home runs are great. But I also love to see, shutouts and just that kind of stuff, too. What do you think, Ryan?
I think you're kind of getting to the average fan there of why people want that universal DH like we were talking about last time.
Yeah.
They want to see more runs,
Home
just
runs.
like in football, you want to see more touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just the baseball fans, true baseball fans, know how nice it is to see a pitcher's duel.
So I guess
Whereas
it's kind of the
average-
same way for
right.
football. Like if you're a true
True fan,
like,
you probably like
yeah,
the defensive performance.
That is true.
If you're just watching football, I mean, you want to see as many touchdowns up there. You want to see the 50 to 48 games between the Rams and the Saints.
That is true. So unfortunately, there's no football in San Diego, but we'll go ahead and transition as we talk about San Diego. Manny Machado signing for 10 years, $300 million, with an opt-out after the 5th year. What do you think about that, James?
I think he probably opts out because the salaries are going to keep going up at the high end, right? I mean,
Right.
That's just the nature of economics. I think it's awesome for baseball, and it's also not. Because San Diego's on the West Coast, and he's an impact star player. If he was in a bigger market, it could have helped baseball, promote itself to younger people, young
Right.
kids, because that is an issue for baseball right now. I think for just baseball in general, like if you're already a fan, I think it's awesome because that brings San Diego into the mix, just puts another team in the mix. It's not one of the usual suspects that's signing him. I think, good for him. That's anybody who says they don't want that money's foolish.
Right.
You can say whatever he sold out. Bro, I would sell out yesterday for that kind of cash.
Right?
So, and good for the Padres, man. That NL West has been a pretty good division as of late. And I think the Padres are kind of saying, hey, we want to get back to where we were 15, 20 years ago.
Right. And that's the thing, too, is like the division this year isn't going to be as strong as it was the last 5 years. I mean, the Rockies, LeMahieu going over to the Yankees, just teams like that. The Diamondbacks getting rid of their players. I mean, this is a good chance for the Padres to come back because we know the Giants aren't really going to be in the mix there's a chance that might get Harper. We'll talk about that here in a bit.
Sounds like the Phillies.
It sounds like the Phillies. Anyway, going back, though, I mean, the Padres have a good chance, and they have a lot of good prospects, too. So, I mean, what do you think about this deal with Machado, Ryan?
So I'm thrilled for the Padres, first of all. Kind of agreeing with what James said for the most part. Love that Machado went to the Padres, kind of get them, I feel like my whole lifetime they've just been at the bottom of that division.
I think they had one good year with Adrian Gonzalez.
That
I
was
think that was
about
in 08 or something, but yeah, go ahead, continue.
It's been a long time. So I'm really excited to see Machado there. Won't get to watch him as often, but I mean, still, I kind of hope they do turn things around, start competing for the division, which, like you were just saying, there's only going to be a couple good teams. I mean, the Giants are falling down. Nationals should still be up there, and the Phillies are going to be very, very good, especially when they sign Bryce Harper in the next couple days.
Right, and like I said, we'll get into that here a little bit after Machado, but kind of my opinion on the whole deal, I know we talked about this last podcast, 10-year deals, I don't really like the 10-year deal, honestly, but I understand, but having the opt-out makes sense, so it kind of fixes everything. But it's shocking when it broke the offer he declined from the White Sox, which was $250 million for 8 years. So, if you were to calculate that by years, I mean, that's $31.25 million a year, and rather than $30 million. I mean, I just kind of want to know why he didn't go to the White Sox. I mean, it could be there's a lot of good prospects because he's going to play third base for the Padres, and we all know he wanted to play shortstop originally.
You also have to think, though, kind of what James was getting at, opting out after that 5th year when he can sign another new contract and that money's just going to keep getting higher. That part makes sense, as well as would you rather live in Chicago or San Diego?
That is true.
It's not even a question.
So that part, I do think he is also opting out after 5 years as well, because that money's just going to be higher, unless obviously he's not performing, which I expect him to perform.
So I just kind of want to go down the Padres roster here. I mean, just like a potential lineup. I mean, this is absolutely sick. I mean, Eric Hosmer, the 144, million deal. I didn't like that, but I think he's going to have a bounce back year, honestly. I mean, you got Will Myers, who's probably going to play in the outfield now. Hunter Renfroe, some top prospects, Luis Urias, Fernando Tatis Jr., who's an absolute monster, Franchi Cordero, Francisco Mejia, and obviously you have Manny Machado. I mean, the Padres have 10 prospects in the top 100, which is the most of any team. So
Yeah, but a couple of them you're now projecting in that lineup, so...
I mean, right, but I'm saying they have a good farm system too, though. But,
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, with the 2018 comparison of Machado and the Padres, I mean, Machado last year, he batted 297, and the Padres, third baseman and shortstops combined, they only batted 236. I mean, you're already improving tremendously there. Home runs pretty much the same. Machado hit 37, and the Padres hit 39 in those positions. And his OPS, now this OPS is one of the strongest points to mention. Getting on base is important, and also slugging. 905 for Machado, which is pretty good. The Padres, on the other hand, 689. So they definitely needed some help there. And the WAR for Machado is a point better than the Padres.
$300 million upgrade.
Honestly, yeah.
However, my problem with the Padres lies kind of with the last few years. I mean, their lineup definitely improved. Starting pitching.
Yeah. That's like, they don't have starting pitching, I don't think, at all.
I'm trying to think of names off the top of my head.
I mean, and to the point about the starting pitching, and by the way, I do think OPS may be the number one stat I look at when I look at a hitter. The catcher they have slated to be the starter in Mejia, he's supposed to be a great hitter.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the best defender. I've been stashing him in one of my fantasy dynasty leagues, so I've been kind of paying attention to him.
Right.
And there's been a ton of talk that he may end up moving positions. Now, he probably doesn't. San Diego has said they're committed to giving him a chance to be the catcher. But you have to wonder, if a guy's not good behind the plate, how much is that going to affect the starting pitching staff when, in the minors, they're already suggesting he's probably, at best, he's going to be a below average defending catcher.
No, that's a great point, because actually I was just going to bring up, I think that they were actually looking to potentially even trade him this offseason, if I remember correctly. Maybe for Real Muto or something like that.
I mean, that's
But
crazy.
they were thinking about trading that guy.
That's crazy because, they got him from the Indians last year. So, but everyone wants Realmuto. He's the best catcher in the game. I think we can all agree to that. So,
No argument here.
right? One thing I want to mention, too, with Machado signing with the Padres, they're paying him basically for regular season. He really has never been that good in the postseason. In 6 series, he bats 213 with a 268 OBP and 650 OPS. So, hopefully he can improve if they can get to that point, but I think that first step is just getting to the top of their division.
Yeah, and I'm not putting them as the front runner in their division by any means for me.
Definitely. It's still the Dodgers.
It's the Dodgers, yeah. Now, I think they have a chance to compete for second with the Rockies, because I still think the Rockies are going to be pretty good. In fact, I think the Rockies lineup's going to be awesome, regardless of the fact that they're hitting in that park. But so I think they can compete. I get it. So he doesn't have the best postseason stats. He's only got 6 series. That's not a ton of time. It's starting to become a decent sample size, but it's not a huge one yet. And you got to get there first. And he's what, 26?
26, 27, around there.
He's still a kid when it comes to playing in the biggest spotlights. Some people get it right away. Some people it takes some time. So you also got to consider he's going against considerably better competition in the playoffs. So I'm not too worried about that. You get me to the playoffs, and if it's a problem in 3 or 4 years from now, then maybe it's something. But let's see some more playoff appearances first.
And he's a monster defender. He's really good on defense, too. You can't beat that. He's also good at stepping on people's feet and stuff like that. But
Very, very dirty.
Oh, yeah.
Very dirty.
Talking about him as if he doesn't exist as a person right now, of course, just as a baseball player. But, I wonder, I wonder if there was any thoughts to giving him more money or less because of what he would do to the clubhouse. But never really heard anything bad about him as a clubhouse guy, more just as, what you see some of that scumbaggy stuff he does.
Right, so kind of going off the numbers too, what I just thought of with Machado, kind of going off what James just said. Now, in the regular season, he's facing those number 4 and 5 guys. Playoffs, you're seeing the Kershaws, Bumgarners, and then straight studs out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
So I'm not buying into those numbers yet. Machado's a great player, and I'm sure those stats will pick up in the postseason.
Right. Now, kind of moving on from Machado, obviously we need to talk about Harper. And honestly, for me, I have no idea where he's going to sign. I have a good idea, but, I thought Machado was going to sign with the White Sox, and then he just pulled a 180 and went to the Padres. Where do you all think Harper's sitting right now? Because there's been reports where he's been having meetings in Las Vegas and whatnot.
So I hope he goes to the Padres somehow. He's not going to, though, because of how much they just paid up to Machado. I think he's going to the Phillies from what the reports we've kind of been hearing about. I think he's going to the Phillies, moving Hoskins the first, and then that lineup just becomes absolutely stacked.
Honestly, what do you think, James?
So I read last night that Phillies ownership said they're resolute that they're not leaving Vegas till they have a deal. People can say that, and it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
Right.
I think first and foremost, he's signing for the most he can get. I don't think that he has preferred destinations, but the number one thing on the top of that list of preferred destinations is the bank.
Obviously.
And he's taking that money to the bank. So it depends on who comes up with the money. It could be the White Sox, right? Because they were looking at either or. They've got such a young organization that they could kind of build their team around either position there. So they're still in play there, even though they didn't get Machado. Philly's in play. The Nats maybe are in play. I don't know if anybody else really is.
You know, I
Nats,
keep
he declined, though.
You see, that's what I was about to say, because I just don't know. They're not going to give him more money. If you
No.
decline $300 million,
On a 10-year deal.
yeah, I think he's just asking for way too much money. I understand the marketing part of Bryce Harper. He's the most marketed player in MLB. We can all agree to that. I mean, that's just plain and simple. I mean, his stats
He's
last
so
year
overrated.
sucked, though.
That
his
kind of brings...
he only made the All-Star game last year just because it was in D.C. He
Right,
should
exactly.
not have even been an All-Star.
His numbers were awful during the first half.
Awful. He batted like 213.
Yeah, like around 210. Seriously.
It was awful.
That kind of brings us back to what we were talking about last week with, the owners and the players, both, on opposite sides,
Yeah.
and a potential strike looming in
Right.
2021 because the players are obviously wanting as much money as they can and as they should get. But the owners, they have to do it smart. They can't just pay every single guy 10 years, $300 million. You still have to fill out your team. So you have to still, be smart about that. You have multiple guys to pay, not just Bryce Harper.
Exactly. I mean, and that's just, yes, baseball has money, but take guys like Nick Markakis, for example. We mentioned him last week. The guy takes a pay cut, that is a team guy. He's willing to help his team get to where they need to be. So,
and had an awesome year doing it.
Absolutely. So that's just a guy who's going to help the Braves win. And I honestly think the Braves are going to be right up there again with the Phillies.
Oh, yeah.
There's 4 teams in that division that can win, except for the Marlins, obviously.
Who will get about 50 wins?
Maybe. But I don't know. I just need more guys like Nick Markakis in the MLB.
Right.
But I understand where Bryce is coming from in a way.
Yeah, you should get paid as much as you
when you're the
possibly
most
can.
marketed player, yeah.
Right. But it comes back to the point where the owners, they just can't pay everybody that way. And that's where the guys like Craig Kimbrell, they're not going to get as much as they think that they're going to get.
Have you heard that Craig Kimbrell is now suggesting he might hold out?
I heard that.
Just not play this
I heard
year?
it was false.
That'd be so stupid.
His agent came back and said it was false, though.
Every single day he's
But-
hurting himself.
As a reliever, like we were talking about last week,
There's
you're
not a
gonna
good
get that
market
deal.
this offseason. There's just not a good
No.
not a good market. Ottavino went to the Yankees. Miller went to the Cardinals. There's just not, and obviously Diaz in a trade went to the Mets, but there's just not been a lot of, good relievers for a market, for teams and stuff.
And for that 5 to 8 year deal,
Oh, my gosh.
no thank you.
And when you've got teams, there's just enough teams tanking that you've got other teams building Super Bowl pins, and they just don't need them. And there's not 25 teams looking that really want a closer.
Especially for that amount of money.
Right.
Right. Because, when you do that deal with that amount of money, you're just holding your team back for about the next almost decade at some points. Because you're just having all that money tied up, and baseball contracts are guaranteed, not like the NFL.
Exactly. That is true.
One thing I'll give Kimbrell, he's been the closer really for a long time.
Stud.
He's not a guy that just found himself as the closer, because it's not a position where I think guys last forever and ever, right?
Right.
But he's been one that can do it. So I understand where he's coming from. And like I said, I'll take every cent I can get in a negotiation every single time. But he's not going to get that money.
Right. A lot of journalists, MLB journalists, have said that there's a chance he might go back to the Braves. And honestly, I think that'd be a really good fit for him. But I
still kind of think he goes back to the Red Sox.
you think so?
I did too, actually.
Yeah, because they are like the one team that doesn't have a closer.
But they're not going to pay him that much. He's going to have to compromise with the Red Sox on that.
At this point, this late in his, or going into spring training,
else they're just
he's
not
got
going
to
to sign him. Yeah.
The longer he waits, the worse it's going to be for him not getting what he wants. So that's just plain and simple.
But I didn't think there was a chance in a million that Le'Veon Bell was going to sit out this year, and he did too. So I see that report, and now, now as a fantasy baseball owner, though, there's no way unless he's already on a team that I'm drafting him this year.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about that.
I don't fault you for that.
It's just something we haven't, been accustomed to. We haven't seen players striking in the MLB. We've seen it in hockey, we've seen it in football, but we haven't seen it in baseball. And a lot of guys have expressed their displeasure with that. Verlander being one too. But let's just go ahead and keep moving on here. I pulled some crazy stats from last year's season. Giancarlo Stanton leading the MLB in exit velocity with 121.7 miles per hour off the bat.
My boy.
449 feet on a 17.4 launch angle. That is insane.
Dude's bat speed is unreal.
And
Honestly.
he's just so strong.
So strong.
He is. What drives me nuts, though, he should be playing in the outfield for a team. I would like to see the Yankees trade him, honestly.
Or play him in the outfield.
Yeah.
Well,
he's so athletic,
they've
young,
got,
but they've got multiple outfielders.
They've got a glut of talent out there.
I mean, you got Judge, who's throwing from a 314-foot wall to second base.
Aaron Hicks.
I mean, I just would love to see Junk in the field as well.
Because he's not a bad defender, and he's got an absolute cannon.
I still won't get over the
I think
Marlins
part of that is, though, he's had some injury history that keep him out of the field.
That is true.
Exactly what it is.
Keep that bat in his lineup because it's not like he's Ricky Henderson or anything. Right. You know what I mean? So they're paying him for the bat, not the outfield.
And they can do it.
And so I don't think it changes.
I'm going to be honest with you. If Machado really would have signed with the Yankees, I don't even know what I would have done. But
they would have had to make a trade or something, Andujar, or move him to first, or trade one of their first basemen. Something else would have gone down.
They still have 5 players or 6 players that could start in the infield for the Yankees. They have so much depth; it's ridiculous.
I mean, they don't need Machado.
Exactly.
No,
exactly. See, that's what I'm saying.
The Torres, Andujar. I mean, I'm not going to say those two are going to be as good as Machado. No, they're both really good.
And Andujar has only been in 1 year, but yeah, he had an outstanding year.
Our next crazy stat, Jordan Hicks. He's actually one of my favorite up-and-coming relievers, too, for the Cardinals. By the way, Cardinals are my favorite to win the NL Central this year.
I mean, their lineup's stacked.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at their lineup. They got Jose Martinez. If Fowler or O'Neill ends up playing in the outfield, they've got Jose Martinez, who hits 300 3 years in a row as their bat off the bench.
That's true. Yeah. But he also can't play the field.
He's not a very good defender.
That's why he put him there.
But I'm just saying, I mean, you got a guy who's...
But no, he's a great hitter.
Who's a 300 hitter,
yeah.
And he's your first guy off the bench.
That guy's huge, by the way. It's like 6'6".
That's insane.
For the Cardinals, it all comes down to the rotation.
I was just about to say that. I mean, Jack Flaherty had a really good year, too. He's one of my favorite up-and-coming starting pitchers as well.
Nicolas, opening day starter.
Yep. But I think, like we said, the report's possible with Carlos Martinez going to the pen. He's had a lot of injuries in years. I mean, what do you think about that, James?
I mean, you all know I have him in the league we're in, so I don't want to see that. But
right.
I think it's possible. I could see him, if he went to the bullpen, I could see him being a closer. I just kind of get the feeling that Alex Reyes is their closer of the future.
Yeah.
And he's had injury troubles too, so I don't know if they're going to look to stretch him out as a starter because they've done it before. So I don't know. That could leave, I mean, all of a sudden Carlos Martinez, this up-and-coming stud starter, could be a setup man.
That's what I was going to say.
Sad.
What do you think about the Alex Reyes? That was like their up-and-coming stud that was supposed to be the starter. Now you think he's going to be a closer?
Well, because he's had arm trouble, too. He hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Like last 3 years.
So I think it's possible, yeah.
I mean, that's just what they do with pitchers nowadays, too. I mean, I know it's a horrible comparison, but Andrew Triggs, when he comes back, they're putting him in the pen, but he'll probably break his back within the first 2 pitches. Anyway, moving on, I think it's no doubt who had the furthest home run this year. It was obviously a Colorado Rocky, Trevor Story.
Where was that ball hit at?
Dude, I have no idea.
Was it Coors Field?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's Coors Field. Sorry.
Doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's still like being able to hit the ball that far is still really impressive. I don't know.
He had a good year, too.
Is it Ryan Howard who has the longest home run of all time?
Of all
With like
time?
500
I don't know.
and some feet. I don't know.
I don't know about all time.
I don't know. I have to look into that. But I
He
don't know.
could crush a ball, though, that's for sure.
Right. And then obviously Mookie Betts leading the league in batting average. Your boy Mookie, 346. Talk about an athlete. Dude, I saw a video on Twitter of him.
Dude can bowl.
Dude, bowl. He can ball. Like,
Ball.
He dunks. He bowls. The dude bowled a 300. That is insane. If you don't call bowling a sport, bowling is definitely a sport.
Best athlete in baseball?
Right now, yes, honestly. But still the best baseball player.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout.
Yeah, no doubt.
That might
He
confuse
might be the
people.
best athlete, too.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, like I said, Mike Trout on the East Coast, he's going to be marketed a lot better.
That would change
and
a
we'll
lot.
probably get into that next week.
Okay, so this is just Google. I don't know how real this is, but I see 575 feet for a home run from Babe Ruth in 1921.
Talk about
It's
a ball
hard.
that is
Those are-
crushed.
Those are stats that are probably hard to really believe, though. In 1921,
Yeah,
Fair.
like how
Like-
they don't have the technology to like. But still,
Oh, I just saw this ball fly over the yard. 575 feet.
well, just like technically, I forget who hit it. It was at Crosley Field. Someone hit the ball and it landed on a train and it didn't land till Louisville or something. He's like, that's technically the longest home run hit because it didn't land. But I mean, back in the day too. I mean, the ballparks were so small and there weren't as many stands. I mean, you could easily just kind of keep hitting it over there, over the fence. But I don't know. Another great pitcher, Cy Young winner, Jacob deGrom. Monster season, 1.7 ERA in 32 games pitched, 217 innings pitched with a .91 WHIP. And honestly, what matters to me more than anything is that WHIP. Having a .91, that's filthy. That's filthy.
Dude, the year he had and the fact that he ended up with, what, a 13-11 record or something?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, almost
It's
500.
absolutely, yeah. So, again, fantasy point from me, but I have him in a league where it's wins minus losses.
Oh,
So he netted me 2.
okay, that sucks.
That sucks, but that's just
he
because of
was
the team that he was on.
He was pretty good in the ratios and the Ks. So, I mean, he was still an outstanding player. Dude, he is an absolute stud. And what's weird with him, I didn't realize this, his agent, I guess 2 years ago or whatever, is now the GM for the Mets.
Really?
So,
Wow.
very good chance he stays there. Right. I was unaware of this. I was listening to...
That makes sense then why he wants that extension
He
before.
does.
Was
That's
it
what they
before
were
opening
just talking
day?
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like they're gonna be getting that before opening day. But that does make sense. I mean, now
I'd
he
be
should stay with the
stunned
Mets.
if he doesn't stay with the Mets long term.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly.
Stunned.
I mean, I don't see Syndergaard staying, honestly.
No.
I don't. I see him.
I think they're going to keep one of the two, and the one, I mean, with
It's
what
gonna be
James just
DeGrom.
said, it's going to be DeGrom.
It's gonna be DeGrom.
And he's pitched better recently as well.
He has. And plus, Syndergaard's always been hurt every single year. Like, there's
Yep.
been something.
Big-time arm
He
troubles.
had, like, I forget what it was called. It was like a kid flu or something. Or it was
he had eye and
foot
hand
mouth
and
disease.
foot. Yeah.
It's like,
Hand,
come
foot,
on.
foot, and mouth. Something like that.
Something like that. I was like, seriously? Oh, I have a blister on my index finger. I can't pitch for 2 weeks.
Supposedly he was like deathly ill, though.
No, he was.
Yeah, I know.
It's a deathly
the dude
disease.
has-
It
an
happened
awful
to
immune
somebody
system.
else over the year, too. But
It is an awful
I think
immune system.
that doesn't worry me as far as like signing him for any kind of long-term deals or anything. It's
Right.
the other injuries.
Yeah, that is true. But still, I don't know.
It's
it
odd.
bothers me because he's on my team in Dynasty. So, I'd like for him to stay healthy. But no, DeGrom, I mean, dude's an absolute stud. I don't think he's going to have as great of a year, obviously. But
I don't think you can.
no, but
He could come close with the Ks. Obviously, he could better the wins. The ratios, the ratios were just out of this world.
and honestly,
It's going to be tough to repeat that.
the Mets have made some good moves this offseason. Although I just saw Jed Lowry something with his knee, though. I don't
They had to
know
do an
anything.
MRI or
Yeah,
something.
I don't know what happened
I
there.
think it came back clean. I believe.
Yeah, he's probably sitting out a couple
because
weeks.
that was a good pickup for him. Because that's your guy too. I mean,
Well, it's not anymore. I traded him.
but still, like,
I've got him in another dynasty, like a fantasy league. I don't know. I don't know if I like that for them. I don't know if I like it
Jed
for him.
Lowry?
Yeah, I don't know.
What about the other moves they made?
No, I like that team as a whole. I mean,
They got better.
Yeah,
we can
did.
put it that way. They got better.
they're going to be in competition in that division. I don't know if they're going to be in competition in late September though.
Right, and that's usually how it goes for the Mets. Because last year they did start out like they had one of the best records. It was them and the Red Sox, and then they just fell off. And I mean, it's also hard to go up against when you have the Braves and Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, Markakis, Freeman. I mean, the list goes on. And then the Phillies with the moves they've made.
And a lot for the Mets just rides on the starting pitching, staying healthy.
I think that's
the key.
I think that's just for every team in that division. I think what's going to come
key.
down to September, whose rotation is solid.
Yeah, I mean, because look at the rotations in that division.
Dude, they're sick.
I don't know if the Phillies get Harper, then
Phillies are the favorites for
Then-
sure.
There's no doubt.
But I mean,
Okay,
the-
yeah.
they
the
don't
national
they don't
star-
have to have the healthy starting pitching because they'll beat you 12.
That's true. Their
12
lineup
to 10.
stacked. But like the national starting pitching, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's beyond nice.
The fact that Scherzer is still able to produce that this late in his career is just, it's crazy.
He's like getting better.
He really is.
Getting better with age.
Yeah. And that's one guy I love pitching too. A lot of the times, obviously, I like to watch the A's. I like to watch the Reds. But I love to watch the Nationals when Scherzer's pitching. Like, when he gets on the mound, I never see someone so in the zone. He could be losing 7-0. Obviously, he'd probably be out of the game. Let's just say 4-0, right? In the fifth inning, the dude is still he's pissed. Like, he's hungry. He wants to get you out.
Which eye do you look at?
The one that's blue.
Yeah, the one. I'll go with the one that's brown.
But no, Scherzer is the ultimate competitor for real. Like what you were saying, like seventh inning, like he's still yelling at his guys.
Exactly.
Like if they don't make a play,
That's
they're
a
not
guy-
trying hard. Like that's a guy you want on your team.
Exactly. And, I would have loved to see some interaction between him and Harper. That would have been interesting. But I don't think pitchers really mess with Harper unless you're Papelbon. So.
That's probably true. They probably don't. Every once in a while you'll see it if a guy's pitching, but not often. I want to see somebody mess with Harper. I'm just not a fan.
See, I don't like Harper just because of his attitudes and stuff. But with Machado, he doesn't hustle. He doesn't hustle when he pops out or anything. Same with Gary Sanchez. Cannot stand Gary Sanchez. And I saw an interview on MLB Network with the Padres manager, and the analyst asked him oh, so how are you going to deal with Manny Machado? Just jogging to first base or whatever. Completely dodged it, and he's just he's just a great guy to have on the team. We're just gonna produce.
I would say this: if I was on a team, I'd probably like Harper a lot better as a teammate than Machado.
I do agree with that. When he does hustle, he does hustle.
Yeah, I like actually both guys. Harper more.
Harper,
I do like
think,
Harper.
just has a little roid rage.
Machado, I like, but he's not as much as Harper. He's extremely dirty, and I absolutely hate the fact when he said, "Yeah, I'm not hustling to first." So I hope he changed his mind on that a little bit. Harper, I actually do like a lot more. Just fun to watch. Brings a lot of energy to baseball, in my opinion. Guy you want on your team, but yeah, if you play against him, you absolutely hate the guy.
Right. One question I had too, I've been thinking myself for the past week. Doc Holliday pitched for the Phillies. I don't know if they retired his number or if he even wore 34. But I was just I always think about that, what jersey numbers are guys going to wear. But
When they move teams?
Yeah, because I know Real Muto wouldn't be able to because they retired Rollins' number. But I don't know. Anyway, just kind of moving on, though. When we talk about batting averages and stuff like that, we talk about the Triple Crown. And the last player to win the Triple Crown was Miguel Cabrera. What year was that? Was that 2012?
12 or 13?
Something like
12 or
that, yeah.
13?
I want to say.
Something
And that
like
was the first time it had been done since the 60s, right?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So I just kind of want to ask you guys, right now it's batting average, home runs, and RBIs. But would you keep it that way, or would you change it? And if so, what would it be?
I'm not changing it. I'm old school. Now, I'll be honest, when baseball went to the wild card, because I'm a little older than you fellas, and I was around when only two teams made the postseason for each, or AL and NL.
Only two?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that existed.
Okay, that sounds awful. Maybe that's why the Yankees won so many World Series.
Going back, it used to be only two. There were two divisions, and there were no wild cards.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the Reds were in the NL West.
My God.
I know, it's shocking, right?
Wow.
The changes that have happened in baseball's playoffs, I like, and I wasn't all about them when they happened. So I don't want to say I never believe in change. I wouldn't change the Triple Crown.
Just because of old stats and stuff, that's kind of been.
Well, first of all, I mean, runs is one of the biggest stats, of course. It's what it is, you know? It is dingers and ribbies and batting average. If you wanted to call it on-base percentage instead of batting average, because that's kind of the way baseball's moving, okay, I guess. But, the skill really, to me, is not drawing a walk. It's putting your bat on the ball.
Getting
so
guys
for
in.
me, I would never change it.
Okay. Makes sense. What about you, Ryan?
I like the way it is, but I would change it. Kind of going off what he said a little bit, OBP, I do actually prefer that over batting average. But I see your point, batting average is about the hits, OBP is drawing walks. I still think it's very hard to draw a walk in the MLB. Sure. You have to have a great eye. Kind of going off that, I do like the WAR as well.
Yeah.
Is one I would put in there. And the best way to say it, I don't like the RBIs as much because, if you're on a bad team, nobody's getting on for you. If you're not hitting the bombs, you're not getting RBIs. I actually like runs more than RBIs.
Yeah, because you're still getting on base and.
Yeah,
but you still have to count on those guys getting you win, though.
Right. That's why I kind of wouldn't put runs or RBIs in there. Because I like the WAR, and then I like OBP as well.
Because when Miggy won the Triple Crown, he was surrounded by a lot of good players. Like that's when the Tigers were
awesome players.
Oh, you have to be to lead the league in RBI.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's why for me, I would do batting average, OPS, which is on base plus slugging, and WAR. Mookie Betts' WAR was unbelievable last year. He had it was above a 10. It was insane.
Yeah, but the Triple Crown's always been about offense, and
that's true.
I know,
Mookie's WAR goes up because of defense.
But I like that because baseball
there's no defense
includes your defense,
yeah.
so it shouldn't just be about offense.
Exactly, it's about overall player.
Exactly,
because but I'm kind of both ways though, because just like James said though, because old records they were based off of batting average, home runs, and RBI. So that's where it gets a little touchy. So. I don't know, because then you could see potentially more Triple Crown winners. Guys like Mookie Betts probably could have been a Triple Crown winner if we had it proposed the way I have it right now.
Right.
So
gonna be hard to change.
Right. So let's go ahead and transition then into other free agents. Another big signing, Marwin Gonzalez. I was waiting for him to sign 2 years, $21 million with the Twins. I really like this deal actually. Utility guy. Been waiting for him to sign, and I think the Twins are honestly a perfect fit for him. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good sign. That's the kind of guy that you like to put on your team if you're in sort of a rebuild, because that makes you very flexible for future free agents, right? Not that the Twins are going to go out and get Harper. Not that they're going to go out and get Nolan Arenado next year.
Right.
But, mid-level free agents that could maybe be exactly what their lineup needs, they can go out and get them and put them at different positions because he can play all of them.
Exactly, and that's hard to come by too. And see, that's why Jed Lowry was one of my favorite players too, just because he can play all positions in the infield. I mean, you really need guys like that, going down with injuries or something like that. I think they also inked up Jorge Polanco again.
Yes, I think
so. That was a good signing to get back too. They lost Robbie Grossman, but I mean, they still have Kepler. Kepler's a very good young player.
I think he could be a good player, yeah. I mean, I've had my eye on him for a little while.
Mm-hmm. And then Jose Barrios, too. I still think they need more. They definitely need more pitching.
But that dude's going to be a stud.
Especially in the division they're in, though. They're going to be...
I mean, they've already got a chance just because of how bad the division is.
Yeah, it's like the Indians just assume they're getting the division.
Every year.
And they're not going out and doing anything.
They really aren't. And that drives me nuts. Indians have had one of the worst off seasons, but they don't really need to, and that just goes to show.
Here's the deal: if they're in contention and they can make trades, they don't spend. They can kind of pick and choose what they want. Then,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a terrible philosophy.
I don't either, especially with the division they're in.
With the hand they're dealt, I don't think it's a bad philosophy. I don't think it would work very often, but in this case, it could.
Right. I mean, although in a couple of years, me personally, I think the Royals are going to come back.
And the White Sox are going to be climbing too.
Yeah, so like you said, it's good for them right now the way it's dealt. But in a couple of years, that might come to bite them in the butt. But the AL Central and the NL West, I think, are the weakest divisions in baseball right now. I mean, Obviously, the AL East is probably the best, the NL East. And after this offseason, you could throw in the NL Central, too. I mean, that's just crazy.
Right.
So you said the AL Central in which division?
AL Central,
And
and
the
then he said
NL
NL West.
NL West? I don't know, man.
I think the AL Central's so far the worst.
No, it
that
is.
it's like no one's even really in
No,
second
definitely.
place.
I mean, I think the NL West is okay. The Diamondbacks tanking is kind of put them in a spot. I don't think San Francisco's terrible.
You don't?
I don't.
And
I
the
don't think they're
Rockies aren't-
great, but I
and
don't
the
think they're
Rockies
terrible.
aren't horrible.
I think the Rockies are good.
Yeah, and then the Dodgers obviously favorites
Yeah.
in the division.
We'll
So
see.
yeah, I'd say AL Central for sure the worst though.
No, they are. They are. Other free agents. Adam Jones is another big name.
Where in the world is Dallas Keuchel?
That, too. Dude, I cannot believe
His
he
name
still
was-
has not been signed.
His name was mentioned for so long about 2 months ago, and now it's just been absolutely nothing.
The fact that that guy isn't on a team right now just boggles me. It's insane.
It's just the nature of the beast right now.
Yeah.
I think we saw it last year start, and J.D. Martinez taking forever to sign.
Yeah, he signed March 26th or 28th.
It was crazy late. And you just didn't know where he was going. And I guess there's enough teams that feel like they're in play for him, and you could say that's what's happening with Jones, and probably not Keuchel as much, but with Jones in particular, because teams that want to get Harper, Jones is a really good fallback option,
Yeah.
but they're not going to go sign him until they're certain they're not going to go get Harper.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of same with Marlon Gonzalez here. You saw him sign after Machado inked up with the Padres. So I think it's just kind of like when the dominoes start to fall, then we'll start to see.
Yeah, it's teams. All of a sudden, teams will be like, "Okay, there's only a few pieces left out there. I better go get one."
Right, exactly. So let's say Harper signs with the Phillies. Okay, now the other three teams in contention, right? So we got the Braves, the Mets, and the Nationals. It's just they could go out and get Keuchel. It's like, okay, we need a lefty who could potentially shut Harper down, you know? And so then, like you said, then they could go and get Keuchel and like, okay, we got this guy. He's solid. We're good to go.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
you know, he's still working out and everything. And
Yeah.
I also don't think these teams really care that much if they miss the first few weeks of spring training. That
No.
really doesn't matter to
It's
them.
more
as long
for
as
the
they get 'em-
prospects.
right, as long as they get them by regular season, oh well. That's
Yeah.
what I think the teams are thinking.
Right. Speaking of spring training and prospects, I know it's a little late to mention, but I still think it's important. What do you guys think about the whole Kyler Murray situation with him going to football instead of baseball?
I mean, the decision was ultimately up to him. If he likes football more than baseball, I can't fault the guy for picking his true passion. If it was me, I would have done something different, but if he loves football, he wants to be a quarterback, it's hard to tell him to go play for Oakland Athletics.
What about you?
So would it have been different if it was the Yankees?
Boom. Honestly, it probably would have.
No,
Actually, no, probably.
If he
I don't
wants to
know.
play quarterback in the NFL, that's what he was going to do.
Well, you
No
said
matter
the
what
A's
team.
like you were throwing a little shade on Pubsky over
No,
there, but
a little shade, but no, on any team. Now, yeah, New York Yankees probably going to pay him a lot, but still, no. If he wants to be a quarterback,
Oh, they
he
by
made the
far
right-
they would have given him the money. How much did he want? It was like $20 million or something like that. Just to,
something crazy. Yeah, that's never been done before, really. But no, he made the best decision for him because that's what his passion is.
So I heard a story a couple of weeks ago. I was unaware that Tom Brady was actually drafted minor league baseball. I had no idea about this.
I didn't know either.
I have not heard.
Please enlighten us.
And keep in mind, Brady was a 6th-round pick in the NFL draft.
Yes.
Murray is expected to be a 1st-round pick.
Right.
And Brady went to check out some minor league team where he was at. And, remember, this is not the Tom Brady of today.
No.
Keep this in mind.
Right.
And the guys were like, go play football. Don't ride, why would you want to ride these buses for 8 hours, 10 hours? Go play football. You're immediately in the NFL. You're at the highest level. Because college football is the minor leagues for football. Kyler Murray was just getting ready to go into the minor leagues. He's already done with the minor leagues of football. Think about how many first-round picks in baseball don't pan out by the time they actually get to the majors. Now, I know guys don't pan out in football, too, but they also get paid a lot of money.
And they're guaranteed to be on the
Did he
team.
give up 5? Okay, he gave up 5. He's going to get a lot more than that. And his odds, I believe, of succeeding in the NFL are a lot higher than they were of succeeding in baseball. Now, I get it. What was he, the 6th overall pick in baseball?
Yeah,
Something
like
he
that.
was
No,
top
he
10
was
for
top
sure.
10 for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. He was thought of as one of the best in that draft. But countless times, I mean, you guys know in the league we play in, I love prospects.
Yeah.
Countless times prospects don't pan out. And so he still had a long way to go before he was going to get that easier sport that's easier on your body, making a lot of money. He had a lot of AAA, AA, single A bus rides in his future still. He doesn't have that in the NFL.
But also going off that, it sounded like the Oakland A's wanted. We're going to do everything they could to make sure he was on that major league roster.
Well, see, yeah, and that's exactly, if you don't mind.
You're talking about the 40-man, not the 25, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Which means he'd still be in the minor leagues riding them buses.
But still, let me bring a little something to you guys, okay?
Go for
I
it.
am very salty about this. Okay, I understand you want to play football. I think winning the Heisman really helped him as a quarterback, market him as an NFL quarterback,
No doubt.
I definitely think if he wouldn't have won the Heisman, I think he might have had different viewpoints, on certain things. But also, the Athletics let him play his junior season, okay? They let him play in college because most draft picks, you sign him and you're playing for us, okay? And it was a $5 million contract, and they still let him play football for 1 year. And then he promised, like he said, he was going to stick with baseball. That's why they let him play football.
At the same time, though, if you're in Oakland Athletics, I mean, if you're Billy Beane, you know what you're getting yourself into. That's the chance you're taking.
You're also taking the chance.
I mean, a guy can say one thing or not,
word.
but he can go back on that.
You get verbal commitments to different colleges changing all the time.
You can change that.
But it doesn't come
You
to
can
money.
change that.
Money, this is $5 million, and then we're waiting for him to finish out his season. He's taking big hits and everything like that. Like, that's a liability for the Athletics, and they don't even get that pick back. They don't get anything. They just lose a player. I don't like it, but I see where you're coming from, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, it stinks for the A's, and I mean, I don't know if the A's. I don't know if they deserve any kind of compensation, right? Because they kind of knew what they were getting into. It really stinks for them, but that's just the price of doing business.
Yeah.
That's the risk you take.
I mean, there's certain guys, like I said earlier, I won't draft Kimbrel in a fantasy league this year until he's signed. If I drafted Le'Veon Bell, and I know this is just fantasy, but when I drafted him in my fantasy leagues last year, I didn't expect somebody to give me something after 3 or 4 weeks when he didn't show up.
Right. You're picking him there
I took that risk.
Because you think he's going to be a stud. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
They took that risk.
Yeah. High risk, low reward.
For the A's.
But, I don't know. I just think the career longevity is better in baseball, too. Unless you're Tom Brady.
If you get there. If you get there.
I do agree with that. But at the same time, the way the NFL is going, maybe he's thinking it's getting harder to hit quarterbacks in the NFL. Granted, though, he's more of a runner, so he could be like Cam Newton, where is that going to pay off in the long run when he's getting, drilled by Von Miller every other game?
What do you think he makes off the field in advertising money as an outfielder for the A's?
Okay,
or
that is
a
a really
starting
good
quarterback for I don't care what.
Who only
Valid
plays
point.
once a week, and it's not, yeah. Okay, that's actually a really good point. I didn't think
Valid
about that.
I mean, millions. Because you mentioned Cam. How much money do you think Cam's made from Under Armour?
Cam's made a
And
ton.
Superman
Greek
brand and stuff,
yogurt.
yeah.
Cam's made a ton. But at the same time, I mean, what if Kyler goes out there and gets hurt first year and doesn't build that reputation like Cam has?
It can happen in baseball, too.
A lot more unlikely.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But again, he's not in the majors yet.
True, but I mean,
He's
with
in
everything
the
going
NFL.
on, he was on his way to the MLB. In probably a year or two, I'd say.
I think he took the most the most secure amount of money
And I
by
think,
going to the NFL.
and I think when the Heisman
to me, it
really
comes
helped
down to
him.
money. I mean, I've got earning potential as a superstar with this body I've been blessed with. I need to make sure maybe I don't make the absolute most I can at this point, right? Because he hasn't made any. At some point, it becomes that. But make sure I make some.
Yeah, I can't.
Make sure I
mean,
get as much of that chunk of the pie as I can.
Right, like I was saying earlier, he got the most money he can, which is great for him, and also he chose his passion. So it's hard to fault the guy for doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure we could go on and on about this, but let's go ahead and move on to our closing segment here. Segment we like to call Start One, Cut One, Bench One. We're all going to name 3 players for each other, and let's just go ahead and dive right in. James, I got some players for you. So, Joey Votto, Yadier Molina, and Corey Seager.
Is this for this season alone, or is this for
Just in general.
long term?
Just, it could be...
Like as a player?
Yeah, just
or
as
is
a
it
player.
just for like this year, yeah.
Oh, my...
Yeah, see, I was taking him
No,
as
like in their prime, or is it Yadier Molina now at 36, 37 years old?
Probably right now. We'll just stick with right now since, yeah.
You're asking me, and for it's this season only?
Yes.
I would unfortunately have to start Molina and bench Votto and cut Seager.
Okay, why?
If we're doing it for just this season alone, I mean, look, I hate Yachty. I'm a Reds fan. We know this. But if I was a Cardinals fan or if he were a Red, he'd probably be my favorite player. I'd probably wear his jersey.
Right.
He's just one, you know what I mean? Like, he's
one of the best catchers
There's
of
a
all
reason
time.
I hate him,
Sure.
and it's because he evokes emotion and he is good enough to get noticed. If I liked his team, I'd love him. He's a great catcher defensively and offensively. That's a very hard thing to find. I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer. So I'm starting him. I will bench Votto because I can't start him. I only get to start one.
Right.
And I'm assuming by benching him, I can still use his bat off the
Exactly.
bench.
Yeah, that's
For
exactly.
sure.
Yep.
And I will certainly take that over Corey Seager, who, if this was a long-term thing, it'd probably be start Seager, bench Votto, and cut Molina because of just what I think they have left in the tank. But for this year alone, I would cut Seager. I mean, and he hasn't hit in a year. He didn't hit very good in a couple of at-bats he got last year. Small enough sample size that I'm not worried about that in particular. Mm-hmm. But it's been a year, it's been a full year without playing.
Right. I'm excited to see him come back this year, too, by the way. That's going to be exciting.
Big bounce
certainly
back
I
year.
am, yeah.
I know you are. It's your whole team for your Dynasty League.
Yeah, he's a big part of it.
All right, Ryan, what do you got?
So I'm going to go with start Votto just because he's an on-base machine. Gets on base every time you're looking around. Mm-hmm. We'll bench Seager, actually, just because I like his athleticism, everything like that. Great in the field, great bat, young guy. And I will have to cut Yadier Molina, mostly because I really dislike the dude. But also just his age, just being a Cardinal, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that guy.
Okay. I am going to start Votto. Joseph Daniel Votto, that is, as James likes to call him.
That's right.
He's been really good in the field these past couple of years. A lot better than he used to be. His bat's still there. One of my favorite things about watching Votto play is him letting the ball get deep, and he doesn't change anything. 2 strikes, he still hits the ball. He lets it get deep, hits it to left center field. He hits it all over the ballpark. I just think, mentally, he's a really strong player. Physically, he's a really strong player still. And that's one of the 10-year deals that's actually kind of panned out so far. And I would bench Seager just because he's young, coming off the bench, lefty, good pop off his bat. And then I'd bench or I'd cut Molina because he's a Cardinals fan. And he got real salty back in 2012 when Brandon Phillips tapped his shin guards, and I didn't like that.
Nobody messes with Brandon Phillips.
Nah. Well, no one also messes with Yachty either. But see, I've always seen...
If those two went after it,
I know who
no
would win
one
that
around.
fight.
Molina would own him.
No doubt.
No doubt.
And Brandon
Own
Phillips is one
him.
of my favorite players of all time.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Yeah, but that's just for me. So, what do you got, Ryan?
I've got one for you guys. Same position as well. Stud shortstops in the league. We've got Francisco Lindor with blue hair right now. We've got Carlos Correa.
Okay.
And we've got Andrelton Simmons.
Ooh. All right, you want to start, James?
Let's get your all's take on this.
Hamstring injury or not, you got to start Lindor.
Right. I agree.
And I will go with Correa on the bench, and I'll cut Simmons. Simmons is a solid player, but, Correa could be the best shortstop at the end of this season.
Okay.
He probably won't be, but he could be.
He could be. He has the potential.
He is one of the tops.
Potential. For me, I would obviously start Lindor. Dude's absolutely filthy. Unbelievable switch hitter. Love the way he plays. I would actually cut Correa, believe it or not.
Wow.
He's had a couple down seasons. I understand he's got a lot of potential, but just based off of right now, in the early stages, I would cut him, and then I would bench Simmons.
True.
So
Simmons is underrated.
he is. Not a lot of people talk about him.
Best defensive shortstop
Granted,
in
he's
the
on the
game.
West Coast. Again.
True.
But I don't know. Simmons
He
and Correa.
is, but Lindor is just as good defensively.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's a
Better offensively.
superior offensive
For
player.
sure.
Absolutely. And
That's
he's younger.
Correa is pretty good defensively
And a star
and a
offensively.
superior offensive player. Simmons can hit, but those guys can hit for power.
I do agree
They
with
can
you.
be the key piece of your lineup.
Correa
Correa-
just had a bad year last year.
I think Correa's going to have a
he's gonna
humongous
bounce. He's going to bounce
year
back.
this
But
year.
like I said, if I had to go off of right now, just early stages, I would cut him.
Yeah. I mean, starting a team right now, though, if Correa is healthy
I would
and
take
comes
Correa
back,
over Simmons.
I'm telling you, he really might be the best shortstop all around.
Absolutely. So James, you got 3 players in mind.
I didn't know I was supposed to come up with 3, but I have
Just come up with 3 off the top of your
I've
dome.
worked on 3 here in my head. We'll throw out here real quick.
Okay.
Marcus Stroman,
Okay.
Archie Bradley.
Ooh.
Who's the third one we want to throw out there?
These are all dynasty guys so far.
Jeez.
For people,
going with the pitchers.
And I figured we go pitchers here. And let's go Mike Fultonavich.
What's that last name?
Fultonovich.
Fulte.
Okay. You want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. Well, starting pitching, I'm definitely going to take Marcus Stroman. Now, I know he's had a rough year last year, but listen to that. I mean, this guy tears his ACL, comes back the same season in the playoffs, and just shoves. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think the Blue Jays are going to be really good. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to win 80-some games. I really do.
There's
I think they're
no
going to come
way they win 80 games in that
They're
division.
not-
don't think so?
They're not going to be that good.
Dude.
But once Vlad Jr. comes up, that guy's going to be exciting to watch. But their team isn't all great yet. And that division's
And
stacked.
forget the big 2. All right, because, everybody's going to feast on Baltimore.
Each team 27 times.
The Rays are good.
I think
Rays are
the
good.
Rays finish ahead of Toronto.
Rays are a very good team. That division
Sleep
is
on
loaded.
Him. Sleep on them. Night.
All right.
But I'm going to bench Bradley, coming out of the pen. Hopefully we see 2017 Archie Bradley, I should say. And Fultonovich had a really good year with the Braves, and I think he's a really good pitcher, but I'm going to have to cut him. So, what about you, Ryan?
I will go with starting Marcus Stroman as well. He's just one of the most exciting guys to watch in all of MLB. Just love the passion he brings to the game. We will bench Fultonavich. He actually had an incredible year, and some people are probably thinking we're really dumb right now for not starting him because he for sure had the best year out of everybody last year.
That is true.
No doubt.
No, that is true.
Like an ace type
I think it's part of
year.
our bias coming out, let's be honest.
Right, an ace type year, and then I will cut Bradley, reliever, coming out of the
I don't like you
pen.
anymore.
I'll cut Archie
I don't
Bradley.
like you anymore. We can't
Although,
be friends.
The dude does have a fantastic beard.
We
though.
can't be friends. Dude, Archie Bradley pooped his pants. What a legend. And,
Well, on the mound.
He is a legend.
Right, let's clarify. Everybody's
had to
had
go to that clubhouse.
everybody's had the flu before. Like he did it on the mound, right?
That's so legendary. No, he did it in the bullpen.
Hey, he did it in the something like the bullpen.
Yeah,
then he had
because-
to run to the clubhouse to go change his pants.
Well, yeah, because he had to pee or whatever. But sometimes when you have to poop and you pee, it just doesn't happen like the way you'd hope it would. But
I definitely expected the words poop and pee to be on the podcast today.
Poor Archie Bradley.
hey, but honestly, he might be the face of the franchise right now for the Diamondbacks. I think they say face the beard or something like that. They have shirts made. I see fans with the Archie beard.
I don't think they have the face of the franchise right now.
It was Goldie.
Goldie
Of course.
and Pollock
Goodbye.
both left.
Wait, is Greinke still in the Diamondbacks?
I believe
Granky
so.
is there.
He definitely must be traded. Though,
He's
going
going
to
be traded
yeah.
soon for sure.
Yeah. All right. What about you, James?
Well, after I threw him out there, I should have had 3 starting pitchers, not a reliever, because it's too easy to just say you bench the
He
reliever.
used to start though.
because
Bradley
he's
did.
coming off the bench later in the game.
I I wonder whose bench is going to be.
So Bradley, I'll bench. I was just coming up with guys I know he likes, you like, that you have, and then. But I would start Fulte and I would cut Stroman. I like Stroman, of course, obviously too. I loved him as the World Baseball Classic. I don't know. Did he get the MVP or did Adam Jones? I think he did.
It was Adam Jones.
Jones got it. Pitched that incredible.
Who somehow had a D-range in our league,
which actually
Stroman
didn't he give up that bomb that Jones brought back though?
Yeah,
that was an awesome play. Yeah. That was one of the best plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was Stroman.
It was. Yeah, my bad.
But I think Fulte is actually a stud, and Stroman between injuries, and I don't know what was wrong with him last year. I mean, the ACL he came back from, so maybe that's something I should just say I'm not concerned about, right? But I don't know what was wrong with him last year. I started to wonder if it was more in his head than it was physical. So
could be, honestly. I mean, he's got a good slider too. He has good command with his fastball. So
yeah, he doesn't strike out enough guys for me though.
No.
Not that you have to be a great pitcher.
Unless you play at Yankee Stadium, you have to.
In today's age,
it helps, right?
It's definitely ideal to strike out some guys.
You know, he asks a lot of his defense, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing in baseball. I think it's more entertaining to watch than a bunch of strikeouts. But at some point, you know, you can't rely on the double play that often. And that's what I think made him such a good pitcher 2 years ago. Was, you know, because his whip was still very high, but he had a good ERA, and he wasn't allowing those runs because, you know, he wasn't necessarily stranding guys because he's getting them out via the double play, but they got on base before they got out.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Do you guys have any closing remarks or anything before we conclude the podcast? Anything at all?
I'd love AJ Przinsky.
The coach. All right. What about you, Ryan? Anything?
Where's Bryce Harper going?
Yeah, we don't know.
This week.
Well, hopefully this week, and we'll be able to talk about it in our next podcast. Tune in on Sundays, and thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.